My Hero Academia is one of the most influential and popular anime and manga series known today. It has sold over 100 million copies and is known worldwide. And about 10 months ago, I animated my idea of how to adapt this panel of Deku using his new quirk GEARSHIFT. And it was not that good. Don't get me wrong, I think I did a very good job for my first animation project. But the readability was not there. I didn't storyboard the scenes at all. I just animated what came to my mind, and all of the scenes were short and mostly comprised of flashy lights. So, 3 days before Studio Bones released their anime adaptation of the manga panel, I decided to reanimate it. I had already been thinking about how exactly I wanted to readapt Top Gear for a while now. In my original animation, I had animated the whole sequence with 3 not so distinct punches. However, while that is closer to how the manga depicted it, I mostly wanted to have a throwback to the Season 1 sequence of All Might versus the high-end Nomu. This sequence is very special to me, as it is one of the main sequences that originally got me hooked on animation and the series as a whole. It branded into our minds how insanely powerful All Might is, and it set a bar for Deku to work towards as he makes this power his own. This specific cut is animated by Go, an insanely talented artist who has worked on other amazing shows like Jujutsu Kaisen and One Punch Man. I decided to start off by shooting reference footage. This was very important for me to figure out how Deku's body would move while throwing the punch. And yeah, I look stupid, but sacrifices must be made. I recorded multiple references, and then I finally picked the one that I thought looked the best. My process was simple. I would examine how my body moved, and then I would draw keyframes. After the keyframes were drawn, I would in-between the living crap out of it. The more I in-between it, the slower and smoother it would look. And while in the All Might sequence, animated by Go, All Might stays mostly still, I want Deku's slow-motion punch to be building up to him launching Shigaraki away at the end of the animation. By the end of the day, I had this, a starting point for how Apex Shigaraki would look, and about half of Deku's movement. I prioritized on finishing Deku's punch, and I started on Shigaraki recoiling from the punch. I drew some more keyframes for Shigaraki and then drew frames in between the 2 keyframes. Essentially, my main process was the exact same from yesterday. I just wanted to finish both layers of the characters moving. At the end, I wanted to show the fingers wrapped around Shigaraki's apex form body unfurling. Prioritizing consistency while animating a person wrapped in fingers was exhausting. But I pushed through, and by the end of the day, my animation looked like this. Good, but not finished. I quickly finished all the movements and moved on to coloring all of the characters. Nothing else really to say about this. Coloring, it's just one of my least favorite parts of the whole process, underneath shading that is. With so many of Deku's costume having different colors, animating all the different colors is very tedious. After coloring comes effects, including the energy surrounding Deku's arm and the impact frames. The energy, I wanted it to look a lot like Yoshimichi Kamada's energy surrounding their arm in the second movie. The colors I picked at kinda random. I knew I wanted there to be red, but I saw in the leaks that GEARSHIFT had some purple in it, so I chose that as the last color. For each gear he switches, I wanted there to be an impact frame sequence with the last one being the absolute strongest. I was inspired a lot by both Kohei Hirota's impact frames and Yutaka Nakamura's impact frames from his cut in One Punch Man. I spent the rest of the day shading, and by the time I was finished with everything, it was 11 p.m. I exported all the files and imported into After Effects. At this point, I was half asleep and exhausted, but I needed to composite the footage. But I still needed to composite all the footage, so I used a stormy background I'd pre-rendered for my next project and color graded it. I used OLM Smoother to anti-alias all of my footage. You can find this online, it's free. Then I added glow and gradients to the skin. I originally wanted to add, kind of like all for one rainbow lines to the end, but while messing around with that effect, I came up with this, and it just kind of stuck. By the time I had finished it, it was 3:30 a.m., or very close to it. I don't know. I was tired. And finally, I was finished. And with that, I present the finished sequence with sound effects added by Dream Dweller DD on Twitter. Thank you. I posted this on Twitter and people reacted, but not in the way I was wanting. Now, I had just posted this after Bones released their adaptation, and people were just constantly comparing it to Jason Yao's cut. And they were saying that my sequence was better than Bones. And I think that is a very flawed mindset to have. There are so many more factors coming into play during the animation process that I can just easily skip while fan animating. Animators are squeezed into tight schedules, and that was just the case for the official animation. Both me and the director at Studio Bones had different ideas for how the panel should be adapted. It doesn't mean that mine is objectively better. Theirs is more truthful to the manga, and mine has my own ideas mixed in. In conclusion, while this did only take me 3 days, I do not mean for there to be any hate or disrespect towards the amazing staff at Studio Bones. They work insanely hard and help inspire artists, like me, to pursue our own dreams in animation. Thank you. Please hire me, Bones, please, I beg you, Bones, Listen. Hire me, please.